Now, when we have something like that happen, do we have any kind of contract or guarantee or anything, especially since it's still such a young, dog? I mean, can we recoup any of that?
I think we tried some creative things.
Larry Lardmore, Chief of Police. We're currently looking into that because we do have a year warranty on that dog. So it may be a potential we'll be able to recoup.
Any idea what work was done on the dog?
Hello, the antennas major at the police department. The dog had a lot of dental work. He had a crown, he has titanium canines, he had some broken teeth.
Any idea on the value of the work?
$5 grand, at least.
Are there other companies that supply dogs besides the one we went through?
Yes.
All right. My suggestion would be if this company doesn't make good, then maybe we look at some of the other companies in the future going forward.
Yeah, I think the only delay is we're trying to get a complete picture of the problem before we call and say, hey, this dog's mouth is a big issue. But there's a recovery period right now that they can't do any work until the surgery heals, and then they've got to do a little bit more, and a little bit more, and a little bit more. But the recovery process is ahead of schedule, and the dog's doing really well.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I have no question on the dog. I think actually I have more of a comment listening to us kind of going down this trail. Done this for a lot of years, and I know we all just sat through a council retreat where we talked about how we wanted to look, again, at the overview of particular areas rather than independent things. And I am interested in the dog. I think that's an interesting piece of information. But I'm wondering how appropriate is it really for us as a council to be asking our police folks what their dental plan for their dogs are. Do we really want the question of whether or not we're going to have the dog's teeth fixed brought before the council for a vote? That seems kind of an inappropriate use of council time to me. It seems like an inappropriate overreach of us into department procedure, and it really seems to me somewhat insulting, for lack of a better word, to the department heads and the people who we've hired to make those decisions. If we trust our people as a council, then we need to let them make good decisions, and we need to trust that if we set a specific policy level, that will be implemented. And if it's not, then our city manager will take appropriate corrective actions to her departments. And if it's not further than that, we'll take appropriate corrective actions to our city manager. And I don't want to discourage or say bad things about us asking questions or being engaged or involved. I just watched it happening. And these special funds are the ones I watched it happen for years as it goes through. We break down these itty tiny pieces of each of these things, and it gets us off track on what our job as a council is, which is to set policy on overview. And I guess this seemed like a really great time to say it, because I watched it, I watched the first couple of them go through pretty well and asked very overview questions. It was great. And then we hit on one, and I just watched that minutia coming down again. And I think it's just going to take us down a really bad path. We are a governing body to set policy. We're not a governing body to set day-to-day decisions. That's what we hire good people for. Maybe we need to step back and let the good people make those decisions.
Michelle?
Well, since it was brought up because of the additional expenses in that fund, the city manager had mentioned it, and we're going to invest over, I have no doubt of the capabilities of our police department or our canine officer or to even argue whether or not we need a canine, but if we're going to invest over 12,000, is it 12,000 or $15,000 in a dog, and it has $5,000 worth of dental issues, I just wanted to inquire, since she brought up the additional expenses, of whether or not we were going to be able to recoup any of those. I'm not trying to tell anybody how to do their job.
Michelle, can I speak to that? Michelle, that wasn't intended to say to you that it wasn't worth it. I think that's my intention when I said it, was I watched it happen that way. I watched a legitimate basic question that started as a, hey, we've heard a reason why explanation for something that was an extraordinary expenditure in one of our funds, be specific, and a question about it. And I know that we're regular people who will ask it. Then I watched the next thing, which is only normal too for somebody who's newer to the council to ask a question, especially one that falls directly within the realm of something you're going to know more about than any of us up here. But then what happened to it? We started asking specifics about what the details on the dental was, how much did it cost, what did they do for the specifics, and my recommendation would be, that's what I worried about. I'm not specifically pointing out in this one that there was anything bad about the direction or the questions or anything on it. My only point to it was such a microcosm of what goes so really wrong with us in budget discussions so often,